Daniel, it's great to be chatting with you.
Good to meet you.
It's great to be in this facility in Elkhart, Indiana. Is this your first visit here?
Yeah, this is actually, I came out here. I've done some walkthroughs and took a look at the facility, but spending time with you and walking through, first time.
Yeah, so we had a chance to tour the inside and the outside of the facility. You spent a lot of time focusing on the sustainability features here. Now, typically, I would think as the VP of Global Realty at Amazon, you're thinking about the customer experience. Explain how you balance out the customer experience and the environmental priorities of the organization.
You got it. Yeah, and I think sometimes there's the sort of the attempt to look at these as two different things, but really we look at it as one and the same. Part of my responsibility and my team's responsibility is globally find the sites where we build new facilities. So part of that is, okay, well, what's the strategy that goes into that, and what's the thought process that we apply in that? So getting service to the customer, that's always going to be number one. How do we do that in a sustainable way, in an effective way? And that's where we embody that into the site selection process as we move forward. So when we look at a site like this, it's one thing to get a great facility in a community like Elkhart that we know is going to serve. We've got to ask ourselves, what's the actual impact on the community when we build here? We've got to understand we're going to be a neighbor in Elkhart for decades to come. How are we putting our best foot forward? And then also, we've made a climate pledge. And I think our customers understand that. We want by 2040 to be at net zero carbon.
So you have just under 15 years to go now.
Just under 15 years to go. And we've made a lot of good headway. We really have. But there's so much more to do. And one of the things that we do in a facility like this, let's take a lot of those great ideas and initiatives that we might have in some different areas already and some really good new ones. And let's put them in one facility to treat it almost like a laboratory that we could come and we can learn and we can measure and see how do these initiatives work together. And Elkhart's a great community to do that in.
So this is called a mass timber facility. Explain what that means.
You got it. So mass timber, of course, wood's been used forever from the beginning of building.
Right. I mean, humans have been using wood probably several thousand years.
So it's been around. So not a brand new concept. But what we're doing with mass timber today, it's a CLT. It's a cross lamination timber. So what we're doing by combining different cross sections of the timber wood, laminating together, putting moisture barriers in that, we're able to develop strong architectural elements that allow us to use timber in placement of concrete or steel or other types of materials that might have a larger net impact on carbon. So mass timber means we're applying it not just on facade, but in the architectural elements and design of the facility. As you walked through and saw, all of our lateral bracing in this facility is done with mass timber. Our exterior cladding is done with mass timber. And we have support structure elements throughout.
Yeah, one of the initial questions I had coming here was, how can it be more environmentally friendly to build a building out of wood?
That is a great question, because you look at all the wood and you're counting up, okay, how many trees had to be cut down? The beautiful thing about timber, though, is that it's renewable. And that's one of the aspects that we really want to focus in. So all of the timber that we use comes from sustainable forestry initiatives, and it's a certification program. That just means that the sourcing we're taking this timber from is part of a very active reforestation program that's replacing and planning ahead in the future. Also, when you use timber, you know it can be replaced. You know you can have it grow back, even if it takes a little bit of time. When you're using steel, concrete, that iron ore that's extracted from the earth, it's not growing back. It's not being replaced. So it's gone. And you also have some really significant impacts. The heating process, the extraction process for those minerals can have quite an impact. So we're seeing timber, now with these architectural elements, as a viable replacement to those materials.
So you've said this facility incorporates more than 40 sustainable strategies. Can you tick off a few of the features that you're rolling out here and you're hoping to potentially roll out to more facilities across the country and the world?
You got it. Mass timber is just one of those areas, and there's a lot of different elements of that mass timber, like the cladding, the outside walls that you have, the architectural support that you have as well. Even some of the furniture that we have is that reclaimed timber, but that's just the beginning. We have a low carbon concrete and a low carbon asphalt that's also put down. We have a permeated area for our parking for our electric vehicles. We walked out there and saw it. It's that hexagonal shaped plastics. Then we have gravel on top of it. That allows water to permeate through and also holds water. We have natural vegetation outside as well. And the really neat thing is Amazon owns this property. And because we own it, we're able to make the decision to set aside over 5 acres to just keep as forested land. So we're not going to develop, no one's going to develop it. We're also able to do some reforestation in that area to supplement it. We did, I think it was 2,900 saplings that we're planting back in. That's a great way when you start talking about carbon. There's ways that you could reduce, but every action we take is going to produce carbon. So you can't get away from that carbon production, but there's mitigation. How do you offset it? A great way to do that is to ensure forestation, reforestation, which consumes the carbon, as you know, obviously, and puts out oxygen.
So one stat that struck us was that globally, buildings and construction account for 40% of greenhouse gas emissions. You know, we often think about the vehicles, right? And that's one aspect of emissions. But the construction of buildings account for nearly half of all emissions globally. What is Amazon's footprint in that area, and how are you thinking about, I mean, as your mandate is the construction of the buildings, how are you thinking about that?
Well, how we think about it, we got a great leadership principle for this. And that's with success and scale comes broad responsibility. And today we recognize Amazon's in over 60 countries around the world. We have 20 different facility types. You know, this facility we're in is about 150, 170,000 square feet. We have facilities that go up over 1 million square feet. So we understand that that type of development means we have some broad responsibility. So we want to focus, how are we making sure that we're providing those offsets? How are we managing that effectively and properly throughout the process?
You mentioned that it's a dual focus, both you're thinking about the customer, but also thinking about sustainability. Are there times where you have found that the more sustainable approach actually also turns out to get the package to the customer quicker?
Yeah, no, yeah, absolutely. I think one of the really cool things that we look at is as we try to get closer to the customer to reduce the distance, and we're doing that so that we can delight the customer more and getting that package sooner, more consistently and reliably. We're cutting down on that drive time. We're cutting down on the proximity. That has a huge effect. We also find as we're looking at sites and locations that might require redevelopment, that might require working with jurisdictions in new and innovative ways. That's challenging us to make sure we're putting our best foot forward. Again, the question comes not just how you're serving the customer, but how you're impacting the community. And for us, that's one and the same when we're making these site selection decisions and we're looking at the designs and the buildings and these initiatives we want to put in. Now in Elkhart, there's over 40 initiatives that we've put in. You know, we're not going to have every single initiative in every market, but that's part of what we're doing here to have this facility act as a laboratory. Okay, what are we learning from this to see what can scale up to allow us to have a better impact? We want to make sure that it's a seamless decision as much as we can, and that we're capturing these elements because they're helping the customer.
You mentioned net zero carbon by 2040. Where are you guys on that trajectory right now?
It's a great question. I think one of the misnomers whenever you see these the charts and projections, it's always this nice linear curve. You know, you go from where we are today to where we want to be in 2040. The fact of the matter is that it's a little bit of a bumpy ride as it goes. And that means we have to innovate. That means we have to create. And that's exactly why we're investing in a facility like this. We are really confident in our trajectory and how we're pathing towards 2040. And how we're going to get there is by looking at facilities like this, learning what we can learn here, what we can take away and apply, and scale up.
One of the things you mentioned as we went on the tour, we looked at the packages, going out, and you're talking more and more about how individual items are being packaged, not in boxes, but going directly to the consumer. Curious about other things that you've been implementing in recent years around the idea of creating less waste.
Yeah, there's a lot of great initiatives that we're taking on to make sure that we're reducing waste in putting together the packaging for the customer as it goes. In fact, one of the things we're doing recently is we're removing the air pillows that we have, the plastic pillows to help secure the packaging as they're being sent out. Moving away from that, and we're replacing it with crumpled paper. And there's so much testing that goes into that, the drop analysis and the moving to ensure that it's providing the same protection for the product that's in the box. But this has actually resulted in 152,000 metric tons of plastic not being produced, which is a significant number. It goes back to that leadership principle that we have a broad responsibility because of our scale and success. When Amazon starts leaning into something like that, our scale makes it really effective. So a lot of these detailed things that we do, we understand, well, if we get it right, it could really ramp up. And then what we'd like is not even just for us, but in industry as well.
Yeah, one of the things I've noticed as I shop on Amazon is you'll put a Climate Pledge friendly badge next to various products. For people who want to cut down on their carbon footprint, what are the things as I go through the shopping experience, as I decide when I'm purchasing certain things, how many things I'm purchasing, when it gets delivered? What are things as consumers I can be thinking about to ensure that I'm having less of an impact on the environment?
That's a great call out. So you're all already identifying one of the key interactions that we have for our customer, and that is that green leaf that puts there to show that there's some sustainability initiatives that are being executed and performed by that vendor and by the supplier. So that's a great way to call on and to look for those. Another way is you have delivery options. One of the cool things is the combining the packages or combining orders into one package. You'll have an option that says, okay, that might be another day delayed that we'll push off to put those together. That actually has a huge impact for us. We reduced 423 million additional trips in the last 4 years, just from that alone, from customers making that decision to go ahead and combine packages. So you think about that, that's 423 million trips off the road that didn't have to take place because our customers are participating and making that choices. So has a huge significance.
One of the things that struck me as we watched the deliveries go out from here, and we should mention we're recording this on an Amazon Prime Big Deal Day, so there's a lot going out. All the trucks were leaving at the same time. These groups of trucks would leave at the same time,
right?
And I imagine that came out of analysis and came out of various things that you're tracking over time. Curious how you do that, how you're assessing all your buildings around the world and your delivery mechanisms to come up with these new metrics and ways to get things out to the customer quicker, but also keeping the environment in focus.
Yeah, so one of those things, the real focus there is just on the efficiency of the process and the efficiency of the movement of packaging, making sure that we have the right number of employees on the site at the right time to actually physically move those packages out onto the trucks so that the trucks and the vans can come by, pick them up, and then take them to the customers. So a lot of that is just the scheduling and the ability of labor at the right time. But we also want to make sure that the vans are getting out on the road at a time that works, avoiding sometimes high traffic times.
Right, you were
within
leaving just
community.
after rush hour.
Exactly. And so we want to do that. And again, this is one of those really cool areas. We're doing that to make sure that we're getting to the customer at a good promised time, that we're able to hit those deliveries. But at the same time, we're causing less congestion along the way. So it's one of those things. And we find more and more, it's really a neat thing that we don't have to do trade-offs. In fact, some of the things that we're doing to be more efficient for the customer have a great sustainability impact. And sometimes we're doing a sustainability initiative that we turn around and go, hey, wait, this is actually going to help us deliver for the customer better. It doesn't always work that way. But when it does, we want to make sure we capture it and we deliver it, and then we see how can we scale this up.
Curious, as you were conceptualizing this building, are there recent lessons learned from other facilities, or are you learning things from other companies, developers, construction companies, when it comes to thinking about the building? Because what struck me is to quote the old rap song, like from the windows to the wall, you have thought about interesting innovations here. And by the way, from the floor to the ceiling. And so curious where you picked up those tips, what came out of your experience doing this for a while, and what potentially came from, sort of looking around and seeing what interesting things going on out in this space.
Yeah, it was from listening to Little John rap music that gave the idea.
That's what inspired you, Little John.
It is,
yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I take the position, I don't think sustainability should be a competitive advantage, right? I think the initiatives that we learn, and when we find something that's good for the environment, let's be transparent about that.
You're calling Walmart and letting them know, like your old stomping
You want to know what? We're attending forums and we're attending industry events where we're sharing information. And I think in large part, a lot of others are doing the same thing. We're working with developer partners who are building buildings for tenants of all types as well. We're working with GCs and contractors as well, design firms. We want to make sure that there's good open communication. There's going to be competitive times and operations and policies and stuff. Sure, that's different. But on some of these initiatives, I think that's key. Taking that approach has really opened up a lot of the learnings and a lot of the innovations that we're seeing in other markets and what is potential. And we're learning and taking from that, as well as turning around and wanting to share and open up with ourselves. We walk through a water reclamation program where we're taking the water that hits the ceiling and the roof.
Yeah, it was raining here as we toured, and you were literally taking the rainwater and reusing it.
Yeah, and that's going into a 15,000 gallon cistern that sits underground out there. And then we take that back and we actually use that water for our toilets, for the flushing, for non-potable uses. Well, that's not something that's new to us. Like we learned that from others, but now we're implementing it into our facility use. Setting aside land and maintaining forest area where we don't have to take it and cut it down. We can do that because we have ownership here, which is a good thing. But obviously other groups are doing that. So understanding what's the best way to do that set aside. How do you do that preservation effectively? So these are some great learnings that we're taking in and we're implementing here. We're going to do it. We'll measure it. We'll see what makes sense and how we can scale that up. And when we start doing that, we'll be sharing that with the developer community and the industry as well.
So there's the building, and then there's the vans. We got to look at the electric vans that you guys are rolling out. Give us a sense for where Amazon is in terms of electric vehicle rollout and what the goals are right now.
Yeah, so we talked about there's going to be 100,000 electric vehicles that we're acquiring for here in the U.S., and we're at about 25,000 right now in that journey. Globally, we're at about 35,000 EVs of all different types. And it's just a great resource for us that is proving to be so effective. And again, that's another area where we're finding as we drive towards sustainability, we're just more efficient, more effective in how we're delivering. We're not having to go out to fuel stations to refuel and then to come back. We do all of our charging here on site. So that's more effective and efficient for our drivers and for our customers as well. And the actual design of the Rivian van was something that allows for higher volume packaging and sorting within the vehicle itself for easier distribution and consistency to match up with the route planning that we have. So again, that's one of those areas. We're targeting sustainability at the same time, customer and operational efficiency as well.
How are you thinking about it when it comes to, so that's on the ground, the planes and the boats and the other modes of transportation to get my package to me?
Yeah, well, again, 60 countries around the world, 20 different facility types. We have a lot of different modes of transportation. Each of those groups and each of those leaders in those groups have the same pledge, though, right? We got the same mission that we want to drive to be net zero carbon by 2040. And so there's a lot of different approaches that we're taking, whether it's lower carbon produced jet fuel in certain areas, renewable energy as well. Since 2020, we've been the world's largest purchaser of renewable energy. Which is really something else, how we have grown with that over time. And so those are different aspects that we're taking, but everyone in leadership is committed towards this pledge.
Back to the, you mentioned the air pillows inside the boxes and the packaging. Curious about the state of play right now when it comes to boxes and the attempt to phase out as much cardboard as possible.
Yeah, so one of the really cool initiatives we have there is to allow vendors themselves to do the packaging, and we'll put the Amazon label on their packaging. So this has been a huge impact. I don't think there's anything more frustrating than, you sort of open up an Amazon package and there's a box within a box.
Yeah,
right?
And then another
you
box.
take it out, exactly, another box within a box. Well, we identify the same thing. We say, well, listen, that's just, and again, not just from a sustainability waste perspective, but you think about, okay, the extra time to put it in the packaging, the extra hours needed to do that, that adds up over time. So driving the vendor shipping program and shipping from the producer. One thing, we want to make sure they're being effective and efficient with their packaging as well. So there's an upstream benefit as well. But in the last 4 years, 6 billion packages have been shipped in the original packaging without any Amazon boxes. So that's a huge benefit for us, and we're learning from it. Want to make sure we're getting better at it. That doesn't just mean us improving process. It means us working with vendors and suppliers as well to make sure that they are adopting some of the same things that we're doing so that they could have better packaging.
Curious, as we talk here in Elkhart, Indiana, a few miles away is one of the largest data centers that you're building right now. There has been a lot of talk about those facilities and the impact they have on the environment as well. How are you looking at all the variety of facilities and construction that you guys are doing?
Yeah, it's also understanding like what is being consumed. Even a lot of the initiatives we have here in a delivery station, this last mile use, okay, they're going to be applicable here, but what can we also translate into other facility types? Some of our larger box facilities, our robotic centers, data centers are no different. What are we going to learn here that we could use elsewhere? Mass timber is going to be something that we can lean into. Water reclamation is a huge thing in the data centers as part of their cooling. So they've made a commitment to make sure that they're managing more effectively their water. They're making huge strides as well. But again, the climate pledge is for all of Amazon. So we're all leaning into this.
And for the critics who say that the company's growth inevitably leads to higher emissions, that over time, as Amazon gets bigger, ultimately that only means that CO2 is going to go up. The idea that the business goals and the climate goals are in conflict with one another.
Yeah, and again, I think when you look at them separately, I think you're always going to find those disjointed conflicts of interest. We want to start from the basis to say, as we grow and meet customer need and customer demand, whatever business line it is, we're starting from that sustainability perspective first. We're starting from the community impact first because ultimately our goal is to delight our customer.
Right. I know that's the operative phrase at Amazon,
Yeah.
delighting the customer.
Yeah. Well, and so we want to make sure as we're going through this journey that we understand that that's part of that equation, okay, to make sure that we're doing it effectively and in a sustainable way. So as we have these growths and these fluctuations in that curve that I talked about earlier to get to net zero, again, it's not all smooth and linear. You're going to have some ups and downs in that way. But the trajectory.
Right. I mean, certainly you saw like a surge during COVID when everyone was like, I mean, nobody could estimate the amount of packages we were all ordering from home at that point.
Right. And so you see those quick scales and those quick spikes that you have. How are we managing those? How are we diminishing the impact on the environment from those upticks that are inevitably going to come? And so we continue that downward trajectory, understanding that there's going to be a few bumps in the road.
Curious, I don't know how far you look into the future, but like, can you project for us, like, what is our reality 5 years from now, 10 years from now? What's Amazon's vision for what this whole process might look like?
I think it's how we use these alternative materials. And part of the thing that we're wanting to do here as we demonstrate applicability and use is to scale up the production. As we're doing that, we get more consistent demand. We have more innovation that's going to come, better efficiencies, even better costing as well throughout these alternative materials. So we have water reclamation. We have forestation that we want to take into account. And there's these other mitigating offsets that we could do within an Amazon development that are key.
And how much of this is self-initiated? And to what extent, as you approach these things, are you dealing with new laws or regulations that sort of force Amazon and other companies to, innovate in this way?
Yeah. This is Amazon's thing. This is Amazon's push. And I think it's a response to Amazon listening to our customer and who they are. And it's our attempt to make sure that we are reflecting the customer that we're serving in this area. That's critical for us. Jurisdictions come and go, administrations come and go. We maintain our focus. And if it's something that we're helping to drive and create some of the regulation, that's good. If we're looking, we want to make sure we're responsive and reactive to regulations and demands, that's good too, because we're working in this space. I'm not a big fan of reacting. I'd like to be much more proactive in this, but we do understand like Amazon alone isn't going to be able to drive that. So working with industry leaders, working with other developers, having that communication out there to say, hey, here are some of the really neat proactive steps and innovation we're taking. I think we can start working with jurisdictions proactively to say, hey, what makes sense in the future? And we can help drive that vision together.
Daniel, thanks for having us.
You got it. Thanks so much. Appreciate it.